You probably don't remember your very first cup of instant coffee. Most people don't. It was likely handed to you without ceremony, a mug filled quickly, stirred once or twice, then forgotten. Years later, everything around coffee has changed. There are espresso machines that hiss and glow. There are famous chains on every corner. There are cafes that smell like roasted dreams and playlists curated for productivity. And yet, somewhere nearby, a small jar or sachet of instant coffee still exists. Quiet. Unassuming. A constant companion through different versions of your life. And at some point, mid-stir, a thought finally appears. What exactly is this stuff? How does a liquid drink become dry crystals that vanish in water like a magic trick? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on that process. This is the story of how instant coffee is made, from sun-baked farms to steel factories to your cup, and why the truth behind it is more surprising than most people expect. Like every coffee you've ever tasted, instant coffee begins far from your kitchen, under intense sunlight near the equator. Fields in Brazil, Vietnam, Ethiopia, and Colombia stretch for miles, each dotted with coffee plants heavy with red cherries. Inside each cherry are the seeds we call coffee beans. There are two main characters in this story. Arabica, smooth and aromatic, prized for its complexity. And Robusta, bolder, more bitter, with nearly double the caffeine. Instant coffee leans heavily on Robusta. Not because it's fancy, but because it's resilient. Its flavor survives heat, pressure, and dehydration better than Arabica ever could. In the industrial world, durability matters more than delicacy. Farmers harvest the cherries by hand or machine, depending on scale. The fruit is removed, the beans are washed, and then laid out under the sun to dry. At this stage, the beans look pale and grassy, nothing like coffee yet. But for instant coffee, their future already looks different. Beans destined for instant coffee are usually roasted darker than those for drip or espresso. This isn't an accident. Darker roasting breaks down more compounds inside the bean, making them easier to dissolve later. Inside massive rotating drums, beans are heated to over 200 degrees Celsius. As they tumble, sugars caramelize, oils migrate outward, and hundreds of new aroma compounds form. This is where coffee becomes coffee. The smell that fills the factory is the same one that sneaks into your brain and tells you it's time to wake up. The roast goes deep, smoky, intense. Not subtle, but strong. When the beans reach the right color and crackle with internal pressure, they're rapidly cooled to lock in those flavors. Then they're ground, not into fine powder, but into coarse granules. At this point, most coffee journeys would end. But instant coffee is only getting started. Instead of being packaged, the ground coffee is brewed again, but not in a way you'd recognize. Picture enormous extraction tanks, some as tall as buildings, where coffee is brewed by the ton. Hot water flows through beds of coffee under carefully controlled pressure. Temperature is critical. Too hot and bitterness overwhelms everything. Too cool and flavor stays trapped. Engineers tune this process obsessively, chasing maximum extraction. Every soluble compound is pulled out. Flavor. Color. Caffeine. What emerges is not something you'd want to drink straight. It's a thick, dark, concentrated coffee essence. Powerful, aromatic, and intensely bitter. This liquid is the heart of instant coffee. And now comes the part that feels like science fiction. Turning liquid coffee into something dry that still tastes like coffee is one of the great balancing acts of food chemistry. The challenge is simple to explain and hard to execute. Remove the water without destroying the flavor. Over the last century, two main methods have won that battle. The first is spray drying. It's fast, efficient, and responsible for most instant coffee in the world. The concentrated coffee is sprayed as a fine mist into a tall chamber filled with hot air. The droplets are so small that water evaporates almost instantly while they're still floating. By the time they fall, they've become dry particles. The entire transformation takes seconds. It's efficient and scalable, but heat is ruthless. Some delicate aromas don't survive. What you get is smooth, uniform powder that dissolves easily and tastes reliably like coffee, even if it's missing some nuance. The second method is freeze-drying, and this is where instant coffee earns more respect. Instead of heat, it uses cold and vacuum. The coffee concentrate is frozen solid, then broken into small pieces. These frozen fragments are placed in a low-pressure chamber. Under vacuum, ice doesn't melt. It sublimates, turning directly from solid into vapor. Water leaves gently, without heat damage. What remains are light, porous coffee crystals that retain much more aroma and flavor. These are the larger, shiny granules you'll sometimes see in premium instant coffee. They dissolve quickly, but their taste is closer to freshly brewed coffee. It's slower. It's more expensive. And it's the reason some instant coffees today are surprisingly good. Once drying is complete, the coffee becomes extremely vulnerable. Oxygen and moisture are its enemies. Exposure dulls flavor fast. So factories work quickly. Aromas captured earlier in the process are sometimes reintroduced, sprayed back onto the granules like perfume. It's a way of restoring what processing removed. Then the coffee is sealed in airtight containers, jars, tins, or single-serve sachets. From this point on, time slows down. Instant coffee can sit on a shelf for years without losing much character. That longevity is one of its greatest strengths. The idea of instant coffee didn't appear overnight. It came from a very human desire to make life easier. In 1901, a Japanese chemist working in the United States experimented with dehydrating brewed coffee. His powder dissolved in water and produced something recognizable as coffee. It was revolutionary, but ahead of its time. A few years later, another chemist refined the idea and managed to commercialize it. Still, instant coffee remained a curiosity until the world needed it. In the late 1930s, governments faced massive coffee surpluses. Technology stepped in. Improved drying techniques turned excess beans into shelf-stable powder. Then war arrived. Soldiers needed caffeine that was light, fast, and reliable. Instant coffee became fuel. Comfort in a cup. A familiar taste in unfamiliar places. After that, it never really left. Instant coffee has spent decades fighting a reputation problem. It's often dismissed as inferior, lazy, or soulless. But that judgment misses the point. Instant coffee was never meant to replace ritual. It was meant to serve moments when ritual isn't possible. Offices. Hotel rooms. Campsites. Early mornings when speed matters more than ceremony. It has powered night shifts, long drives, exams, and quiet moments before dawn. Even in space, astronauts drink coffee made from dehydrated crystals. That alone says something about its reliability. Modern instant coffee is no longer the flat, bitter powder many people remember. Advances in freeze-drying and flavor capture have changed the game. Some premium instant coffees use high-quality beans and careful processing that rivals cafe brews. The gap has narrowed dramatically. Convenience no longer means compromise the way it once did. And as sustainability becomes more important, instant coffee is evolving again. Lighter packaging. Energy-efficient drying. Fair trade sourcing. Even instant cold brew that dissolves in cold water without losing character. When you stir instant coffee into water and watch it disappear, it feels effortless. But behind that moment is a chain of human effort stretching across continents. Farmers tending plants. Engineers tuning temperatures. Chemists chasing aroma molecules. Also, you can have coffee in seconds. Each tiny granule once lived as a seed inside a cherry on a branch. It felt rain, heat, time. It traveled through fire, steam, pressure, and cold. And somehow, it survived as flavor. Instant coffee isn't a shortcut through culture. It's a compression of it. A way of storing time. Of carrying comfort forward. That's why it shows up in films and stories as a companion to lonely work, late nights, and quiet resolve. It's the pause that lets people keep going. The small warmth that steadies chaos. So the next time you twist open that jar or tear open that sachet, take a second. What's inside isn't just powder. It's a century of invention. It's fields under distant suns. It's factories humming through the night. It's the proof that even the simplest things are rarely simple. Instant coffee isn't just fast. It's the miracle of making time wait for you. And maybe that's why, no matter how many options we invent, it still has a place beside us. Because sometimes, life doesn't need to be complicated to be good.